Oh, yes. Love is life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We open in the name of the divine creator, Illallah,
Mm-hmm.
Sufian. Oh, it's magnificent to be able to touch the world and to make this world a better place. hmm Peace and love to all spirits.
Mm-hmm.
It's been troubling times on the land of
Mm-hmm.
North America
Yes, indeed.
and worldwide,
Mm-hmm.
but we know for sure in North America. So, peace and love to all those. We must bring ourselves to a point of unity. This is a time where actually, if men and women were of true faith, there should be a lot of collective unity going on.
That's right.
I mean, from every branch of religion.
Mm-hmm.
And this should be showing the magnificence of the Lord inside of all people.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all been down a tough road.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've been down a tough road, it's nothing better than to feel love. Helping hand,
Mm-hmm.
a reaching arm, a listening heart, kind words. These are the things that we need in a time such as now. So it's a lot to unpack. Been moving on
Mm-hmm.
with the internet or without the internet.
That's right.
So some catching up got to be done.
I heard that.
We didn't stop at K.O.S.
That's right. No, COVID-19.
And so before we begin our magnificent instructions, it's a serious matter that we need to address, and that's understanding KOS. KOS is very important in this time and the magnitude, and it should be prioritized as top priority.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the Lord visits you,
Mm-hmm.
if the Lord visited you, your hometown, this is awakening for you to return to your Lord. Whatever the name of your Lord is,
Mm-hmm.
it's time to serve Him faithfully and by the divine instructions.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that we have to understand. We have been into a new word is being created, and it's called a loose form. Loose form, Loosh. And what a loose form is basically a soul trap. Now, a soul trap is built off all negative, low consciousness and low energies. And these act as invisible waves, forming a geometrical structure, entrapping the soul. Now, this geometrical structure, it is called a spell. This spell has to be broken only by self. Through knowledge of self is how you break any spell, because there's many spells casted over the whole lands of the whole lands, and specifically North America. This has been the secret of the North Gate. And so a lot of secrets have been held back. But with Illallah, there's no secrets.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to understand the word spell, when you come and do the breakdown to the etymology, and then you go into the occult understanding to the esoteric meaning of anagramism. And this is how we begin to unlock the crafting of the spell maker. Now, the teachers that we have in front of us were designed for you to have in an age that we call the Piscean age. The Piscean age was an age that lasted over 2,000 years. And so we have something called the Aquarian gospel. But we have to understand this is later date, basically outdated releasing of the text in an age that's no longer its age. So we have to understand spell casting, and we have to understand the teachings that you were supposed to get as a Christian was not the Holy Bible. It was the Aquarian gospel. And this will answer all Christian faith into understanding what a Christian is. So we pulling from these texts to bring a harmony and a unity to show that it's one thread that runs a dynamic through all religions, all faith, to the ultimate substrate of truth itself, also known as the self. And this is also called Sophia Perennis. This is the highest stage of consciousness known as ultra consciousness. And this is what is called Christ consciousness. And so what we need to understand in this day and age, that the words, these powerful words, Messiah, Christ, Sufian, are one and the same. This needs to be understood from the heart. These names live and reside in your heart. They are not a specific being. It is a being in your heart. And this is what we want to understand when we crack open these instructions, because we finna get into the Christ degree of what it means to understand having a Christ consciousness. So far, we passed through 6 degrees, and we coming to approach our 7th degree, and then we're going to enter the 7th degree. And this is going to give us further understanding of the words that was coming out of my mouth. Hope you learn a lot. Peace and love in the name of the divine creator. Honor to all. So if I'm right, we're on chapter 54.
That's correct.
All right. So if any beloved boys want to pick up our instructions, we can begin at 54.
54. Jesus becomes a private pupil of the Hierophant and is taught the mysteries of Egypt. In passing the 7th test, he works in the chamber of the dead. The senior course of study now was opened up, and Jesus entered and became a pupil of the Hierophant.
What was the big? What type of study? What course of study?
Private.
Senior.
Senior. Now, is a senior a child?
Mm-mm.
Is a senior a youth? Is a senior an adult? So we're talking about the highest form of study and the last study of studies.
Senior.
Mm-hmm. It is for the great elders, as we would say. This is the great elder study, course of study.
He learned the secrets of the mystic lore of Egypt land, the mysteries of life and death, and of the worlds beyond the circle of the sun. When he had finished all the studies of the senior course, he
Mm.
went into the chamber of the dead, that he might learn the ancient methods of preserving from decay
Mm.
the bodies of the dead. And here he wrought. And carriers brought the body of a widow's only son to be embalmed. The weeping mother followed close. Her grief was great. And Jesus said, Good woman, dry your tears.
Mm.
You follow but an empty house. Your son is in it not.
Mm. 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 Mm.
You weep because your son is dead. Death is a cruel word. Your son can never die.
Stop it right there.
That.
See, that's what we want to
Beautiful.
reassign.
Mm.
Death is a cruel spell.
It is.
This is what has been placed in the
On
mind
the people, yeah.
of the people
Yeah.
to believe in dying.
Yeah.
And so we weep at funerals, knowing not what the soul is.
Yeah.
So we think the soul dies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the believers outside of that, the believers who are viewing the body.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know. And this is why we have to understand, and these texts is going to speak different if you just tuning in and you never heard of this Christian text.
That's right. If they read their Bible, they haven't heard of not like that because it don't say that you never die. You know.
That's right. That's right. It's the great.
That's something that I've contemplated on. So you do have to kind of use context clues with the Christianity thing. When you're reading the Bible, you got to put it together that you living on, because either way you're going to hell or you're going to heaven in the Christian text.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some type of living on after
Right.
that people not keeping into mind. It's not the end in the grave.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Your soul can never die. Another word for soul is son. See, and we all are sons.
Sure is.
See, that's the beautiful part. This is what we have to understand.
And that don't confuse nobody.
And that don't confuse nobody.
Like that.
And our Father is the Lord.
That's right.
The Lord is our shepherd.
And our shepherd, our home. And you know, when I hear the word senior, you know, when I think of the word ancient, I just put both of them together because ancient is just like a senior.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that.
Been around
Mm-hmm.
and know, not speculate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not perhaps or maybe. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what ancient means in our context.
Mm-hmm.
Wise one.
Yes, indeed.
The wise one.
Mm-hmm.
And on 7 we return.
He had a task assigned to do in garb of flesh. He came. He did his work, and then he laid the flesh aside.
Mm-hmm.
He did not need it more.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond your human sight, he has another work to do.
Ooh-wee.
And he will do it well, and then pass on to another task. And by, he will attain the crown of perfect life.
Ain't that beautiful? Boy, it's task after task after task, ain't it? Just like down here on earth, you got task after task after task in the physical and in the mental world, and you get caught up in just that alone and not focus on the soul and the spirit task.
So beautiful.
We're on
9.
And what your son has done, and what he yet must do, we all must do.
See that?
Now, if you harbor grief and give your sorrows vent, they will grow greater every day.
Ooh.
They will absorb your very life until at last you will be naught but grief, wet down with bitter tears.
Look at that. That burden just done. You just done burden yourself down and you just won't let it go. And now you in critical condition.
I know in the funeral and now Sufian, they speak about that too.
Yeah, I know it. And it'll do you like you do yourself like that if you ain't kept.
I actually flew it.
Okay.
Don't it?
It said,
What super so I can put it on the screen.
Super 17.
You can read it too.
On the funeral, 6.8, it said they mimic all kind of ritual and bemoaning around the corpse of loved ones, as if such grief and wailing aids in their passing. Do not extend such grief of days over the body, for it does no help to those who have gone, but manifests greatly the loss.
There you go.
Yeah. You read that before. Yeah.
Same thing.
Same thing. That's right.
Remember the Messiah, the Christ, and the Sufian
Mhm.
are one.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Some people express themselves just a little
Beautiful
different
wisdom.
than others, you know, but we talk about the same truth. We might have a different approach, you
Right.
know, but express yourself.
And yes, and the good thing,
And
no one truth contradict another truth.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
See how she just went to a whole nother text?
Yeah.
And if truth is truth,
Yeah.
it should line
Yeah,
up.
line
No
right
matter
up.
what's holy religion
Yeah.
and faith you want.
Yeah.
It should have these similarities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the same is the same.
That's right. And see, and now, that's why our government must be held accountable because they ain't in alignment with an indigenous constitution. They wrote theirs, but they ain't in alignment with it, and they copy off that. See, but we just talking.
Right. They gave the Christians the wrong book.
Yeah.
Just like they gave the Muslims the wrong book.
book.
So we have to understand these things are parallel.
That's right.
And we have to understand that the government is not your mother and father.
That's
So
right.
they're not going to give you any aid and assistance, just like they didn't give you birth. So we have to understand there's a certain traditional heritage and a divine birthright that you may have been alienated from by not having and receiving the proper text. And now we're in a time where these things are available and one can now proclaim their faith. And if we understand the time that we have and the religious freedom that we have of religious speech, you have the right to voice religious speech. And this is a divine right. And we're going to find out more as we keep the pursuit of knowledge.
I like about our Sufian that they give you, if you don't know of what to do in those situations, because that's, we all been programmed to cry, have grief in someone's eyes. What I like about our Sufian, they give you examples of what you can do. I know the Bible or the Christian text, they usually give you a story, or through a story, and you're left to figure out what to do on your own. And this right here on 17, it said, As for ceremony at the time of burial, let there be prayers of forgiveness for the dead, the honor of their memory, and the prosperity of those who still live.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's showing you how to handle yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when we see that today, people don't have that teaching.
That's right.
So whoever's their teacher
Yeah.
is teaching them wrong, which we would class as false prophet.
That's right. Ain't no other way to put it but that.
So 11. Instead of helping him, you grieve your son by your deep grief. He seeks your solace now, as he has ever done.
Mm.
Is glad when you are glad. Is saddened when you grieve.
Look at
Go bury deep your woes and smile at grief, and lose yourself in helping others dry their tears.
that. Look at that.
With duty done comes happiness and joy, and gladness cheers the hearts of those who have passed on. The weeping woman turned and went her way to finding happiness and helpfulness, to bury deep her sorrows in a ministry of joy. Then other carriers came and brought the body of a mother to the chamber of the dead, and just one mourner followed, she a girl of tender years. And as the cortege neared the door, the child observed a wounded bird in sore distress. A cruel hunter's dart had pierced its breast,
Mm.
and she left following the dead and went to help the living bird.
Beautiful lesson. It's a beautiful wisdom too.
With tenderness and love, she folded to her breast the wounded bird, then hurried to her place. And Jesus said to her, "Why did you leave your dead to save a wounded bird?" The maiden said, "This lifeless body needs no help from me, but I can help while yet life is. My mother taught me this.
How about that?
My mother taught that grief and selfish love and hopes and fears are but reflexes from the lower self."
Here come the grandiose. This is the great lesson right here.
Ooh, read it.
That's not in the Bible text. The lower self
Lord say.
is not in the Bible
Show
text.
enough rain.
And now we get the presentation of the lower self in the Piscean gospel, misnomer as the Aquarian gospel.
They renamed it something with the capital letter in the Bible, through translation. It's
Yeah.
like some type of other.
Yeah, they'll put some other translation.
Yeah.
It's a good point out.
Yeah.
So all of the sadness and grief that we once feel, these is not who we are.
No.
These are reflexes.
Yeah.
If we ever know what a reflex, something throw something at you and you catch it,
Yeah.
that's the lower self. And this is the greatest mystery and the most powerful foe of man himself. The reason why people have not been able to escape their own horror is because of they have no teachings of the lower self. With the lower self, the higher self is free. Because remember, we read earlier in the text, this is what Jesus wrestled with.
Yeah.
When he in the Bible, it didn't say about the Lord of self. He was wrestling with his cardinal self.
Yeah.
It just said he went into the wilderness 40 days.
Yeah.
But this is what the degrees and the 7 degrees we've been learning from sincerity all the way to we at now, the chamber of the dead, learning about the methods of how to preserve yourself from decay or preserve yourself from the lower self. Yeah, I'm 22.
Before she started on 22, I just like that. kind of, because it's just a thought.
Oh, Lord. Mm-hmm.
Sing that.
Please share the wisdom.
And I'm singing why so many people are sick today. Because of not knowing all about self and what to do when self has a problem. We run to the thief and the robber. He's called himself a doctor now.
Come on with it.
I don't mean no harm, y'all.
Come on with it.
But I'm watching and seeing that nobody's being cured. And we talked earlier in the other lesson about the word pill. You said that. No, they didn't get a chance to hear that. You might want to mention that to them because when we had a lesson when the storm had took everything, you explained the word pill and how it couldn't be. There's another word for that.
I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. Before
let's share that with
self in there. And we got to get self right.
Yes. That's what they did. I'm glad you mentioned self and the pill. And we know that self is on pills. See, look at this very correlation. Now, in the word self, you got the word S-E-L-F, the letters S-E-L-F. Now, in the great tone shift or the great vowel shift that occurred in the 18th century from the Indo-European class of historians and translators, the F and the P, how we was talking about the L and the R, the F and the P is interchangeable. So if you interchange the F with the P in S-E-L-P, you can reformulate the word S-P-E-L, and you got spell. So to capture the self, they had to create a concoction, a belief spell. The only way to catch self is by creating something to lure self.
There you go.
And something as this can heal self, something outside of self saying it can heal you, something outside of self saying it can kill you. These things is off limits to the higher self. Now that we have the higher self, we wouldn't need the spell or the pills. So anyone that is under a spell, the indicator is connected to a pill. What this does is, instead of you decreasing in the lower self, it actually increases in the lower self. You're going to need more pills, is what I'm saying. That means more spells. So we got to watch out. It's being voodoo being placed on us by these Greek Goetians.
That's right. I have my head up.
Oh, praise is due to Illallah.
And I was just reading about R and L interchangeable. They said that the L wasn't present, the sound of L wasn't present before the European came to America. Now, when you said self and you was talking about interchanging the P and the L, I did the R and the L. Now, it did S-E-R-L. And then I go look up everyone
S-E-R-F, and it means slave.
Yes, it does.
And remember what we taught in the lessons by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. Those who are slaves to sin can't use the holy name.
That's right. That's right.
Great wisdom.
That's right.
The Unta just delivered.
That's right.
The Lord just delivered us.
That's right.
Spell and serve.
That's right.
These are two incredible powers that work together.
That's correct. And what I raised my hand on was that on the pill and the spell of the pill, you notice that when they give you one, look for two. Ain't nobody taking medication on one type of pill. How about that?
Come on with it.
I'm just backing up what you said.
Come
because
on with it.
when they give you one, they can psych you out and get you starting on one. You got another prescription. I bear witness that I had a brother that wouldn't listen. And they had him on me, and I ain't gonna tell you what number it was, because it was over a dozen. And he was swallowing them left and right until it killed him, took his life. I'm gonna put a period on that right there because I can't talk much about that. But I'm gonna still know that he should still live, you know.
Oh, that is love.
That's right, all that's love.
We'll
take over. All that he missed and didn't get it, we'll get it for him.
Every man have to work out his own salvation. That's the thing down here. No one can do nothing for no one. If self is incarnated, self has to do it for self. This is what we have not been told. You are that which you are worshiping, praying to, thinking that is outside of you, that is within you. This is what the spell has done. It has taken what was in you and made a spell of it outside of you. See, and this is what's called machinery or masonry or shrinery. They getting you to worship at a different altar than your own self, therefore putting other gods before you. I self Lord. See, we have to understand why these teachers was one and the same when it come to Absalom as Sufian. Sufian predates all of the religions. This is the way before the universe was created. This is the way that the sun follows. We talking about the path that Jesus was speaking on of, saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. These are Sufas. And these Sufas are characters that we can be. And this is what death is, one of those characters. So we have to understand as we continue on, what we on number? Yeah, 22. As we learn more about this lower self.
That what we sense are but small waves upon the rolling billows of life.
Look at that. Some but small waves. And remember that other lesson we had, it was speaking of the radio wave.
That's right. Yeah, the electromagnetic, the brain wave,
that's right.
The holographic spirit.
Yeah.
From our previous lesson.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And then attaching it to the Sufa, there's a Sufa called the small. And the small isn't a name of the divine creator. The great is. And as it's saying, the lower self is something small. We making it bigger than our own mind, our own divine mind, due to this spell. So back to that, because we just broke down something magnificent in real time. The geometrical shape that the spell is of a circle. It goes halfway from the slave needing a spell, and then the spell working on the slave or the serf. So these two work hand in hand, keeping each other like a regenerating cloud, dropping water and then evaporating.
Yeah.
And you're going to need another pill because you're going to evaporate it. And you're going to have to get another prescription, not only bringing the wages of sin closest to your doorstep, but you also making the spell maker and caster abundantly rich
Mm-hmm.
off your ignorance.
And he also told them that on that prescription that he wrote them, that what I'm giving you gonna help you here, but it's gonna hurt you over here because it's got side effects. So is he really helping them? Is that help?
Not according
That
to
ain't remedy.
right.
No resolution.
Not according to the Christian faith, right? This is the true Christian faith, the Piscean gospel, the fishers of souls. Or is the doctor fishing for souls, or is he, as they said, losing himself in the helpfulness of help? Or they charging us?
Charging the kid. Make you pay.
Pay for it. Yes. When you know about the soul, you can laugh. Because that's what they think, they can kill a soul. 23 will return.
These all will pass away. They are unreal.
Don't that sound like if we know the lower self well, to know the lower self will pass away is to know the illusions of the world. Uh-oh. This is how we break all spells, which is the lower self.
Tears flow from parts of flesh. The spirit never weeps. And I am longing for the day when I will walk in light, where tears are wiped away.
Did we catch that?
My mother taught that all emotions are the sprays that rise from human loves and hopes and fears. That perfect bliss cannot be ours till we have conquered these.
That's the perfect love.
Oh, mama teaching that shit.
Yes. Remember, the child is as perfect as the mother.
Look at him.
These are divine teachings, and the spirit never weeps.
Stay away from that old preacher, because the preacher preaching just out.
Yes, he out of a different book. So he's teaching a different teaching. And if you line it up, it would be false teachings.
Yep.
And that's all a false prophet can do. The truth can't do nothing fake. Just like the spirit never weeps. That's the higher self we want to tune into. This is who you are. This is who we all are. This is how we are the one. Because we are the immortal spirits, spiritual soul called divine being.
Beautiful. That's simple.
That's simple.
And in the presence of that child, did Jesus bow his head in reverence. He said, for days and months and years I sought to learn this highest truth that man can learn on earth. And here a child, fresh, brought to earth, has told it all in one short breath.
Now, what is this the lowest truth? To learn about the lower self, is this the lowest truth that we just read? Maybe I need to hear lower. Higher. To learn about the lower self is the highest truth. Now let's correlate it to the Sufian. Death is the ultimate truth. To learn this is the highest truth. To learn of your lower self. This is why it was taken out of the Bible. This is why it was taken out of the Quran. And somehow it's in the Piscean gospel, what we got now, and it's in the Aquarian gospel, which is the Sufian. These two correlate. We have the Piscean record and we have the Aquarian record. See, and we supposed to live the light of the age that we are in. When Piscean age was in, overall, it was a Piscean field, meaning you can throw anything could become as powerful as belief. Sufa informs us that belief is the most powerful thing that is a part of the way. And knowing that, this is why they attach a belief spell. And so now man don't and woman don't have to do nothing but believe.
But believe in something, yeah.
See, but I'm glad you said it how you said it. They wanted us to believe in something else and not the self. So the self was never in their text.
That's right.
But the self is in our text. See, and this is the new light that is called the wisdom that we was all supposed to get, called the Spirit of God. Illallah Sufaya, the fire from heaven, called the holy breath. And we call that thought. Anything that came from the holy breath is what we call thought. They don't know this. This predates their genealogy, what I'm talking about. If it predates their gene, they don't know nothing about it. That's like a 144 trillion year man getting taught by a 6,000-year-old man. K.O.S. predates any school of teaching and thought by 144 trillion years. Remember, we was already gifted the 76. We wasn't supposed to stop there. We supposed to find out what was that insinuating. That it was something we had to go backwards to discover where this 76 trillion was coming from. And this is what the Aquarian Gospel is talking to us about. And I'm talking about the Sufian, the 144 Sufas. This is 144 trillion years predating any system of religion, therefore including all systems of religion and faith, that everything is one because it came from the one way. And the Christ and the Messiah and the Sufian are one. One short breath. He learned this. See, Jesus learned this. This is before the Bible opens up into his 30-year pilgrimage. He's learning from a child. That's omitted. So the belief spell can be so entrenched because this is all missing.
Yeah.
He just come with the knowledge that he was taught. And it was so powerful because it was the knowledge of Illallah Sufaya. And this is a holy breath with a holy name, with a holy sound, with a holy tone, and it's all languages.
Be careful.
Great
In their
teacher.
trap.
28. No wonder David said, O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength. And then he laid his hand upon the maiden's head and said, I'm sure the blessings of my Father God will rest upon thee, child, forevermore.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Now, that was a lesson that we have to intake. Give it just a little moment, a breather. Just a little moment of silence. Because chapter 54 was very needed in the time, especially people experiencing weather disasters. we must understand the chamber of the dead. This is why you will hear Jesus not born, but became the Christ. Just like you were born, now you got to be reborn to become the Christ, the Messiah, the Sufian. And now we finna go into the degree of ultra consciousness of what it means to be the Christ, the Messiah, the Sufian. Chapter 55 of our divine instructions of Ilallah. This is about Jesus passing the seventh brotherhood test. So after he learned about the lower self in chapter 54 in the chambers of the dead, in the senior course of study, he was now omitted to enter into the seventh test, or let's say your final exam. You've been to school and you've been to real initiation. Yes. The final exam. So when you hear the word circle 7, this is talking about a system of learning of completion. That when one completes the circle 7, one is a Christ, a Messiah, a Sufian. Here we come. The 7 brotherhood test, and in the purple room. Now, if we understand the colors of the soul is a transparent, a luminescent luminosity. These are words saying that it brightens to different spectrums of light. The reason you see half of an arc of a rainbow, a semicircle, is because of the soul. The soul has, in other texts, they will call them chakras. In the Bible text, they call them churches. In Old Testament, they call them Elohim. In the understanding of Noble Drew Ali, 7 eyes. These things are in reference to the one soul. Your one soul have 7 levels like the spectrum of the rainbow. And we must understand the colors of the rainbow indicate a level of ascension. So red is indication of 1. So when you go from red to orange to yellow, yellow to green, green to blue, blue to indigo, and indigo into night or Virgo, you get purple. This is the 7th level. So now this is an understanding of how everything came to be. Because everything you see with your human eyes, isn't it filled with color? It's not black and white. So the colors come from the soul, and the soul is you in a solar system. So the soul and the soul, this is what is meeting to become one. And this is the highest degree after learning the highest truth, which is the knowledge of the lower self. Remember, understanding is the rock that man must build himself. Gnosis is the knowledge of all and naught, of falsehood and of truth. Understanding, aka wisdom, aka self-gnosis, is the knowledge of the lower self, the sense and powers of man himself. This is what we have to understand. That was the lower self in chapter 54 that was causing all the grief. That's the sense and powers. We have to bring that under a control. And when you bring that under a control where you can navigate through the senses and not be bound by the senses of the lower self, this is called a conqueror. And you know conqueror as Alexander the Great. This is why. We got to understand. This is wordplay. The word Alexander means conqueror. The word conqueror means the Christ. The Christ means the Messiah. The word Messiah means the Sufian. So we are going into the highest degrees of degrees, not in any large church or any temple. This is already in life, from the stars down to the ground. This is how man become a star in flesh. Your soul is the shape of a star. And this is why man has the form of a star. And this is called the Christ, the Messiah, the Sufian. There's only one way for a man and a woman to be born. One way. Just like it's only one way the sun follows. You don't see it park in reverse. So we finna begin chapter 55 on our divine instructions. The work of Jesus in the chamber of the dead was done. They said when the deed is done, the chamber of the dead was done. The lower self was done. And in the temple of the purple room, he stood before the Hierophant. That would be equivalent to a Sufian or a Jabaru. That's one who have educated his mind to the highest level. That's who taught Muhammad, and the same thing where they have the birth of Jesus with Gabriel. That is a Jabaru. So we connecting missing pieces from the Bible with the full story of the Piscean gospel we in right now, misnomer as the Aquarian gospel. Now, number 2, and he was clothed in purple robes, and all the brothers stood. The Hierophant arose and said, "This is a royal day for all the hosts of Islam. In the honor of their chosen son, we celebrate the great Passover feast." And then he said to Jesus, "Brother man, most excellent of men, in all the temple, tests, plural, you have worn out." That's called conquer. You have conquered. This is what Jesus was saying. What I have done, you must do. What I am, you shall be. This is the conquering of the lower self. 5 says 6 times before the bar of right. Now, this is the judgment of righteousness. The bar is the council, the Ilah Bara of Ilah Saba, right, good, God. So now when we are talking about 6 times, if you go back to your Genesis creation story, man was made on the 6th day. So 6th day is in reference to the 6th degree of love divine carried over into conquering what conquered the lower self. As it says in the circle 7 of the Moorish Holy Quran, the cardinal flesh was changed to flesh divine by love divine. Number 5. 6 times before the bar of right you have been judged. 6 times you have received the highest honors man can give. So if you notice, it says 6 times and not 6 plus. So this is a factor of multiply. Remember it said be fruitful and multiply. Multiply indicates times. So 1 times 4, 5, 6, any number times 1 becomes itself. So how he moved from 1 and moved to 6 is by doing 1 6 times. And this is how we get love divine. See, this is what they call for you a Tesla coil. This is how they're using our technology to make Tesla cars. They're using a coil that robots that function off of a quantum processing of 1 to the 6, but they want to get it to the 9. So this is what they working on to get it to the 9 ethers. So it tells us in number 6, upon your brow. See, this is indication of where love divine comes from. Upon your brow, that's your forehead. This is called your neocortex. Your neocortex is how you will sin. Your neocortex is what never dies. Your neocortex is what goes with you to your afterlife. When it says upon your brow, that is your forehead. So your forehead is where this crown called the Christ is placed. Upon your brow, I place this diadem. This is why the crown goes on top of the head. When one wears a crown or a halo on top of the head, this is signifying of you completing the 1 and the 6 times. That you are the Christ, the Messiah, the Sufian of self. You have conquered your own lower self. You don't wrestle men down. Jihad is not an external battle. The war is not external. It's a battle within of the higher self conquering the lower self. It tells us in the great lodge, excuse me, in the great lodge, meaning in the great knowledge. Lodge is the word knowledge. So we have to understand in the great knowledge of the heavens and the earth, you are the Christ. So to us, we need to understand the Christ is the great knowledge in your forehead. The forehead is the heavens, and your whole temple of flesh is the earth. And the self inside of that, controlling both the heavens and the earth, is called the self, the Christ, the Messiah, the Sufian. And this is the great gift. Number 7, this is your great gift. This is your birthright. Great means kabir ra. This is the great spirit, the great knowledge of the greatest birthright called divine birthright. This is what was titled as in the Circle 7 Moorish Holy Quran, that I come to return to you the title to your vast estate. Now, the title to your vast estate is not Christian, is not Muslim. These are components of something that is greater. And this component, which is the parts of the whole, which is greater, this is what it is called the great divine mind. And this is what we are here to achieve, and why you have a purpose and reason for your existence. The next sentence of 7 says you are a neophyte. That means a beginner, or matrix, neo. Your neocortex is your neophyte. Was your neophyte. Now that your neocortex has been filled with the glory of divine knowledge, your neocortex, core means heart, you are no longer a neophyte. No more. But now a divine mind, mastermind. What I call mastermind, love divine. This is what's supposed to be coming from your forehead. This is the sign if you have mastered your lower self. This is what all the prophets have done. This is what you have to do if you choose to walk the path of the divine. When you walk the path of the divine, it's to get the championship of the divine mind. And this is the instructions to acquire such knowledge. Number 8. Now man can do no more. There's nothing greater that man can do than acquiring this knowledge. Nothing more that a man needs to know when he acquires this knowledge. This knowledge is 144 trillion years old. This was before the earth. This is before the heavens. So we have to understand these are ancient, where the Bible will say the ancient of days, where the Sufian would say illallah. So we have to understand man can do no more than this right here. After this right here, God himself, God the self will speak. God the self will speak and will confirm your title and degree. See, and this is where the gift. When you listen to your inner self, when you listen to your greater self will speak to you, and all you got to do is listen and carry it out. This is how we get the Sufian. The Sufian was revealed in this way. No man brought the Sufian to K.O.S. This was done by God speaking to himself. And when this is done, the Creator will confirm his title to you. And this is what was confirmed on K.O.S. The title of Sufian. This is our glory for being who we are, for being ourselves, for listening to the truth, adhering to the truth, and following the truth for what you have to the best of your ability. So now your title and degree to your vast estate has been served to you. The title, Sufian. The degree, Sufian. Asalam. These two go hand in hand. Illallah Sufaya. This is the light of that title that was kept hidden by the priesthood. So now that you have your title back, you have to now live in the understanding that you are conquering your own lower self. Number 9 says, go on your way. Key word, way. For you must preach the gospel of illallah. 2, this is the gospel of goodwill to men in peace on earth. Must open up the prison doors and set the captives free. So this is what Jesus was doing when you come into the Bible now at the age of 30. He was preaching the gospel. He was preaching, it's called the everlasting gospel of illallah. And this is what he was preaching. And this was setting people free in that time period of AD. Now we in the 2000. So understand, the age has passed of the Piscean age. And this is why we in the Aquarian age, where the new light, the people at large that you call the powers that be, they know the new title of this age is Sufian, and no one is awakened to they know the title of this age. This is the light that controls this realm. This is how you live eternally now. This is your birthright that you can be reborn through the purity of your purifying of your lower self. This is what it means when number 10 says, as while the Hierophant yet spoke, the temple bells rang out. That's the ringing in your ear. That's the temple bells. That's the foreknowledge. That's the forehead. That's the foretail. That's the heavens. This is calling out for you to pick up the call. It's ringing for you to hear, for you to listen, to get your attention. You need to listen. There's a call, there's a ringing. Next sentence, a pure white dove. This is symbolic of your higher self. The higher self descended from above and sat on Jesus' head. This is the forehead. This is where this divine knowledge sits. Remember, he said, don't store your treasures on earth. Store your treasures in heaven. Forehead. And where your heart is, neocortex, there is your treasure. Simple, ain't it? Simple mathematics once we got the key words and not the spells. 11. And then a voice that shook the very temple said, this is the Christ. This is the Messiah. This is the Sufian. This is the self. And every living creature said, I salam. This has always been. I salam, Sufian. This is the call of this age. This is the light of this age breaking through, and understand this well. Death is a magnetic field. A magnetic field is created by an electrical current. That electrical current is your senses flowing. And if your senses flow to the point that it blows out the magnetic field, this is called death, just like when your power go out. That can happen to you if you don't understand what I'm saying. Death is a magnetic field charged by your electrical senses. And when your senses or your wattage overloads your magnetic field, this could be through talking, creating spirals that come back to you, any form. This could create a wattage, power outage. And this is called death. So in order to avoid death, this is why you have the forehead. The senses is not the forehead. That is the spine circuit traveling from the spine, top of the spine, cervical spine, to the lumbar, bottom coccyx spine. So at the top of your cervical is your reptilian brain. This is where your reflexes of your lower self occurs. That lower self brain spine is connected all the way down to the bottom of your sexual organs. And if it hits that, this is where horniness kicks in. If it hits a level above that, that's where hunger kicks in. If it hits the whole body, this is where movement kicks in. Everything is a sensible electrical current. This is why you can feel. So now we move to the last Sufa of Sufia, number 12. Ila Muhesi, number 12. That's how we say numbers. Muhesi. 12. The great doors of the temple swung ajar. Now that word ajar means open. Now I need us to very understand these teachings are lining you up the end of Piscean age to come into the Aquarian age. The great doors is a way that's creating a way for you to enter and exit. Of the temple swung ajar. Ajar means open. Open means in our tongue, Fatiha. See? So the great doors of the temple of the Fatiha will come. And the logos, which is a Greek rendition, that word would have been the Sufiya journey on his way, a conqueror, a Christ, a Messiah, the way, Sufian. And these are the qualities that birth the final birth, where they say is no second death, eternal life, seated on the throne. And that's called in our time of the 21st century, all the way to this cycle ends and come into the Capricornian age. Illallah Sufaya. As-salam, salam, Sufayan. Moving to chapter 56.
Okay. Aquarian Gospel, section 12, Lament. The council of the seven sage of the world. It's amazing before I start reading that, just the thought occurred to me that when I think about the council of the seven sage, I thought about G7. They trying to act as though they are the ones.
Yeah, you see it. You see it.
Somehow they wind up with 7.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence.
Yes, sir.
Great wisdom.
Okay.
Now we see where they stealing from.
Yeah, I see a thief.
Mm-hmm. Making his spell.
But he ain't telling nobody nothing. And he got everybody looking up at them as though they are the saviors, the handlers. We need them. Okay. Chapter 56. The seventh sage of the world meets in Alexandria. The purpose of the meeting, the opening addresses. In every age since time began, have 7 sages lived. At first of every age, these sages meet to note the course of nations, people, tribes, and tongues. To note how far toward justice, love, and righteousness the race has gone. For to formulate the code of laws, religious postulates, and plans or rules best suit to the coming age. An age has passed, and lo, another age has come. The sage must convene. 6. Now, Alexandria was the center of the world's best thoughts And here in Philo home, the sage met. Several from China came Ming Steen from India, Vidyapati came from Persia, Caspar came, and from Asia, Assyria, Ashbin came, from Greek, Apollo came. Matheno was the Egyptian sage, and Philo was the chief of Hebrew thoughts. All these thoughts have gathered together.
See what I mean by how K.O.S. predates all these systems.
All these here.
These systems had to come through time.
Yeah, all these gonna come later that I'm naming.
Through time to give every man in his time the rediscovered truth of himself.
The time was due. The council met and sat in silence 7 days. And then Midgenstein arose and said, the wheel of time has turned once more. The race is on a higher plane of thought. 10, the garment that our father wove have given out. The cherubim have woven a celestial cloth, have placed it in our hands, and we must make of men new gods. 11, the sons of men are looking up for greater light. No longer do they care for gods hewed out of wood or made of clay. They seek a God not made with hands. They see the beams of coming day, and yet they comprehend them not. 13, the goodness and love, that they may hide their nakedness when shine the light of coming day. 15, and Vidyapati said, our priests have all gone mad. They saw a demon in the wild, and at them cast their lamps, and they are broken up, and not a gleam of light has any priest for me. 16, the night is dark, the heart of India calls for light. The priesthood cannot be reformed, it is already dead. Its greatest needs are graves and funeral chairs.
It's telling us about.
All I can think about is USA right now.
It's telling you about the government.
Yes, sir, buddy.
This is the priesthood.
Yeah, this is it.
And we're seeing them live in effect.
That's right. Ain't nothing but, and they're broadcasting it all on TV.
Right.
All the killing going on.
Right.
And bombing, and think nothing of it. And they boast about how many children and women they done killed.
Right.
Now these are madmen.
Right. And there's never been a separation that we need to become aware of this. There is no separation between church and state.
That's right.
So when you're saying priesthood,
yeah,
you're saying those who run the church and the state.
That's right.
Together they call the priesthood.
That's right.
One is a king, one is a priest.
Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. The new age called for liberty, the kind that makes each man a priest, enables him to go along and lay his offering on the shrine of God.
Freedom.
Mm.
Now you see why in America,
no justice.
Why is the land in America called the land of the free?
Yeah.
Why is the land called the land of liberty?
Mm-hmm.
It's because we got the way.
Mm-hmm.
But when these invaders came, they gave us a spell.
Sure did.
Which reversed our way. Gave up our liberties.
Yeah.
In exchange for privileges and benefits provided by the corporation and company, which is not a part of our family heritage. Mm-hmm. Nowhere on land of America is a company a part of a family heritage.
That's right.
A corporation can never be divine. Mm-hmm. A corpse means what a corpse means, dead. A corporation is a Caucasian. Corporation is a Caucasian, a dead corpus. And the dead corpus needs a living Christ, a living Messiah to give death life. This is why we going into the ancient script of the Christian script. As the great elder bringing it. Mm-hmm.
And Caspar, the friendly ghost, said, in Persia, people walk in fear. They do the good for fear to do the wrong. 20, the devil is the greatest power in our land. And thought a myth. And he dandled on his knees, both youth and age. Our land is dark, and evil prosper in the dark. Fear rise on every passing breeze and lurks in every form of life. 23. The fear of evil is a myth, is an illusion and a snare, but it will live until some mighty power shall come to raise the ether of life. Somebody coming.
He here.
Right on. Son.
Is you here?
That's right.
It takes a whole.
Right.
We got it, and we need it. We have to understand.
Raising the ether.
Yes, we have to raise the ether. This is why a new message is here. You can stay in the back seat if you want.
Yeah.
Or you can get your own and be in the driver's seat.
That's right.
To have your own is to be in the driver's seat. If you have a will, then you have your own. Get in that car and see. Seat. Can you take a sit on a seat and turn that wheel? The wheel is for the self to balance itself between the heavens and the earth and to cross the borderlands of heaven and earth at will. It shouldn't be nothing on earth you cannot manifest. You bring heaven to earth. You don't go around earth looking for heaven. This science is to teach you from the is where all this is. And the ethers raising is when we conquer the lower self. How do you know when you conquer the lower self? There is eternal happiness. There is perfect bliss. It's a perfect love that casts out fear, all fear. There's no fear of death. There's no fear of life. This is why you exist. You are made from the ethers. Flesh is etheric.
Yeah.
What's inside the flesh is the plane of light.
Right.
Earlier, I was talking about the 7 arcs or the rainbow. That is the light. The light is a substance. You can actually see light to show you that yourself exists, but you have to understand it because you can't see it as itself, the truth. You can only see the falsehood, the flesh. And this is why the flesh is an illusion. But the flesh is the greatest gift given to you so you can live life to the fullest, control your own destiny, live by the creative fate, Fate, that you destined for yourself. We have to remember nothing is absolute. Every woman must work out her own salvation. Every man must work out their own salvation. Your saving power as male and female resides in your neocortex. This is called the heart of the mind, the divine mind, the heart of the divine mind. And this is how you take the ethers and raise it to the self. The ethers is the lower self. The higher self is the light, the wisdom, the divine creator. As we finish our last one.
24. When this shall come to pass, the Magian land will glory in the light. The soul of Persia calls for light. And it says something about
calling.
Yeah. The New Age in 1518 said the New Age called for liberty. Now, if you just observe what's going on in this country, in the New Age, they call it for liberty. Stop the killing, stop the murdering of the children, stop the murdering of women. And all these elders that's up there in high places, they say kill, 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 kill. And some of the elder senators up there, the senator of South Carolina, boy, he loved killing. He say he want more, and more guns and more bombs. Now, how can we live in a society believe in murdering and killing. I mean, this is where we're at. They believe in killing, stealing, lying, deception, don't want you to know the truth, a secret society. The list goes on. And
Remember,
everybody knows it.
and the self has to remember, he is not the foe. He's just the magnifier or the amplifier.
That's right.
If you that low, he gonna amplify you more.
That's right.
He knows the more you don't know, the more you don't grow. Are the ethers, the things your flesh love.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we are talking about what does these things do to the flesh, it brings harm to the flesh. It corrupts the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
It stops the flesh from healing itself. It stops the flesh from curing itself.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger you are is the more magnitude. The more magnitude you have, that is the size of what you're dealing with. You have to understand ethos. Ethos is based upon conditions. Conditions are beliefs that you hold in your forehead. Now, they change your beliefs to spells. So this is the new game, like our ancient ancestors used to teach us. Don't you say a bad word. Now the new bad word is not MF, it's not F word, it's not the sh word. The new bad words are spell words. So listen very carefully, because you have to say these things. And we have to understand spells are ethers. And if you want to stay in the ether trap, the soul trap, that's what the spell words are for, the spell to talk. We have to raise your forehead to greater knowledge in order for to change this lower spell to the truth of the self. If the self doesn't feel that way, the self shouldn't spell that way. See, to spell out is to cast out. We have to understand the words of divinity is for a temple of divinity. If your body is the temple of God, then what should go in the temple of God is divinity. So what comes out of the temple of God should be divinity. The world is divine. Everything is holy. The self is absolute. This is the new light that we must have. But guess what? Me talking doesn't give you my understanding. This comes from me solving my own problems. And the problems I solve for myself is the problems you must solve for yourself. We all each have a self. And this self has to be solved by nobody else but yourself. The ethers is called your, it's called you. You is divine creator. The name your mother, father gave you are the ethers of your flesh. That is not the divine you. The divine you is the name of the divine creator, Illallah. This is your sacred name. This is your divine name. This is your hidden name. This is everyone's sacred name that gives them the title to their vast estate. I just come to bring you the gifts that belong to you. The keys to your head, your earth. You go by doctor, physician, lawyer, and even the title president. You see how it comes with power. Your title back. Sufian.
Beautiful.
That comes with the power of the land, the air, the water, the fire, and all of life is in the possession of the Sufian, the Messiah, the Christ, the self. If you are the unique, if you feel manifest at will, if you feel you are greater than your temporary circumstances, if you feel the light can change the way the ethers of the conditions of the ethers are, this is what we're talking about conquering. Those who are a lower self do not know Christ. Those who are a lower self are a slave to flesh, and a flesh is a slave to sin, and sin is mental spells. So we're going to have divine instruction.
It's a 7.
Meeting of the sages continued. Opening addresses. Jesus with the sages. 7 days silence. As Bina said, Assyria is the land of doubt, the chariot of my people, that in which they mostly ride is labeled doubt. Once faith walked forth in Babylon, and she was bright and fair. Once faith walked forth in Babylon, and she was bright and fair. But she was clothed in such white robes that men became afraid of her. And every wheel began to turn, and doubt made war on her, and drove her from the land, and she came back no more. In form, men worship God, the one. In heart, they are not sure that God exists. Faith worships at the shrine of one not seen, but doubt must see her God. The greatest need of all of Assyria is faith, a faith that seasons everything that is with certainty. And then Apollo said, the greatest needs of Greece are true concepts of God. The theology in Greece is rudderless, for every thought may be a god and worship as a god.
That's the belief spell right there. We take Jesus Christ as a God in the mind, in your forehead, as a Christian. And this is wrong by the Christian text himself. Never worship man in your forehead.
Yeah.
You worship yourself.
That's right.
You in your forehead. The Creator made you. The Creator created you. And this is a birthright stripped away from us by the Mayflower invaders.
That's right. That's right. That's correct. And I just want to add on. Don't you see the spells and rituals that they placed on us? And it goes so deep. Just want to make us pledge. You've been taught that in school. Just look how they getting you deep in your lower self in serving them. They got you pledge allegiance to a flag. They got you singing a song. These are rituals. They got you got to sing the Star Spangled Banner before any game could be played. They they got another ritual where they take an oath on the Bible when they sworn in as president. I mean, the list goes on. What more you need to see? If the Bible is their holy book that they've been sworn in, I think it said peace and mercy to all in there, but yet you can't get it. So why believe in a book being sworn on when they don't even? I ain't know that. Go ahead, sister.
And that's a very important that we at
Go
a
ahead.
state now where it's recognized that a thought is a God.
That's right.
See, so the
I'm
enemy
glad
has
you
a
pointed
thought.
that- That's
Right.
right. I'm glad you pointed
The
that out.
enemy has a thought.
Uh-huh.
And so if his thought is stronger than yours,
Uh-oh.
your thought gonna become weaker.
Uh-oh.
And this is the game of the lower self ethers.
Mm-hmm.
Is to get you to a sluggish wheel,
Yes.
so slow that you start waiting. And you wait on God.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. And one more other quick thing is that look at the Jesus Christ concept when we are the Christ.
That's the
Come on.
point.
You see what I'm saying? But they got you looking for another Christ. And waiting comes riding in a cloud. I'm gonna end on that.
Yep.
The plain of thought is fraud, and full of sharp antagonists. And so the circle of the gods is filled with enmity, which wars and base intrigue. Greece needs a mastermind to stand above the gods, to raise the thoughts of men away from many gods to God the one. We know that light is coming over the hill. God speed the light. Matheno said, "Behold this land of mystery, this Egypt of the dead. Our temples long have been the tombs of all the hidden things of time. Our temples, crypts, and caves are dark. In light, there are no secret things. The sun reveals all hidden truths. There are no mysteries in God. Behold the rising sun. His beams are entering every door, yea, every crevice of the mystic crypts of Mizraim. We hail the light. All Egypt craves the light." And Philo said, "The need of Hebrew thought and life is liberty." The Hebrew prophets, seers, and givers of the law were men of power, men of holy thought, and they bequeathed to us a system of philosophy that was ideal, one strong enough and good enough to lead our people to the goal of perfection. But cardinal minds repudiated holiness, and priesthood filled with selfishness arose, and purity in heart became a myth. The people were enslaved. Priesthood is the curse of Israel. But when he comes, who is to come? He will proclaim emancipation for the slaves.
Oh, Joe.
Abraham.
Abraham.
Speaking of that, his name is Abraham.
What a coincidence.
It's a power in that name.
Behold, for God has made incarnate wisdom, love, and life, which he has called Emmanuel. To him it is given the keys to open up the dawn. And here, as man, he walks with us. And then the council chamber doors opened, and the Logos stood among the sages of the world. Again, the sages sat in silence 7 days.
The silence of 7 days.
Okay. Chapter 58. Meeting of the sages continued. Presentation of the 7 divine postulates. This is the circle 7. Now, when the sages were refreshed, they opened the book of life and read. They read the story of the life of man, of all his struggles, losses, gains, and in the light of past events and needs, they saw what would be best for him in coming years. They knew the kind of laws and precepts suited best to his estate. They saw the highest God ideal that the race could comprehend.
Boy, that don't sound like us right here, Ooh-wee. All I see is other people when you read that.
Right, you got these experiences that we know from experience. Number 4, upon the 7 Sufas, these sages were to formulate the great philosophy of life and worship of the common age must rest. Now, Mengenste was the oldest sage from China. He took the chair of chief and said, man is not far enough advanced to live by faith. Man is not far enough advanced to live by faith. He cannot comprehend the things his eyes see not. Child, during all the age, he must be taught by pictures, TV, symbols, logos of corporation, rites, rituals, and forms, visibility. See, technology, these are all things driving the lower self right now.
That's right. And everybody got some young and old had this technology in their hand.
Where your lower self is the technology, and your higher self is the state of art technology. The highest of the highest. The next one, number 8, says, his God must be a human God. Christ in flesh. Died on a cross. That's human. He cannot see by knowledge. Faith means knowledge. True knowledge. This is where things are suffering. Most cannot see God with knowledge. They want to see God with human eyes. Remember, the greater knowledge is in the forehead, not the eyes. So the lower self can think. The lower self has thought. So you have to understand the two inclinations of the one self. This is the knowledge. Illallah is all knowledge. All knowledge, the all in all. 9, and then he cannot rule himself. This is where people are at right now. You can't rule yourself. You can't keep your own pants on your waist. You can't keep decency on yourself. Morals or your own conscience don't rule you. See, there's been spells, and now you need a president. You need to vote, because this is what human eyes need to see. The king must rule, the president must rule, and the people must serve.
Oh,
That's how y'all
I
want it.
don't understand that no more.
Where it be the government serve and the people rule. Public servants. Or as the sister said, public serfs. Serve and spells. Remember this. The people playing as Christ
Yep.
is playing as you.
Yep. Serving on you.
It's never been two yous. It's only one you. So only one ingredient holds the higher self together. And that's all knowledge. When all knowledge break apart, this is called lower self. It breaks into parts where you see this side, you see that side, you see that side, you see that side. Remember, to every visible form, there's 6 sides. So you may see somebody from the front. Somebody may be describing them from the back. Might be seeing them from the foot. Somebody might be seeing them from the head. They thing, but it sounds like different perspectives. And this is what self is. The physical self. We bodies looking at different perspectives to bring a collective unity of oneness, of knowledge. And this is how you rule yourself. This is how you rule yourself, called I self Lord, am mastermind love divine. Number 10, the age that follows this will be the age of man, the age of wisdom, the age of knowledge. Come on. Number 11, in the blessed age, this is talking about the age we in now, Aquarian age. Be ruling this age with knowledge, with knowledge, with knowledge. And that's called wisdom. In this blessed age of the Aquarian, we'll see without the aid of cardinal human eyes, lower self. We'll hear the soundless sound, the silent self, and will know the spirit God, spirit self, the divine self. That we enter the Piscean age is the preparation age. And in the Piscean age, all the schools, all the governments, and all the schools and governments must be designed in a simple way that men may comprehend. 13, and man cannot originate that the flesh sees. So in this council, we must carve out a pattern for the Aquarian coming age. Check this. You have to bring all studying from all across the world. This is called the East, as they would say. But it would be understood. Now it says 14, and we must formulate the gnosis of the empire of the soul, which rests on 7 sufas. See, this is very key. This is in a time where the Sufian has not come yet. Of the Sufian in the schools, they don't want you to know in this Aquarian age, since the Piscean age outdated now. They want you to have this book called the Aquarian Gospel and the Sufian, so you outdated as the spell shifting the timeline.
That's right.
This is what they've been doing, getting you to age, shifting timeline, Time going back. The sun ain't never went back. But man is playing because he knows something. The government, the G7, resting on these old Piscean postures. Each Sufa, 15, each Sufa in turn shall form a Sufaya. And now that we have it, roll just like that. And these shall be the basis creeds of men until the perfect age shall come. Come on, until the Aquarian age shall come. Zodiac wheel number 11. And 11 is the master number, the perfect. Be ye perfect as the master in heaven. Yes, it's figured out. It's all returned back to you. This is my gift to the world, to honor the world, to make it a better place, and to never turn my back on the world that my creator formed. So when we are talking about the divine instructions, we are on 16. Then Menjesti wrote the first. This coming out of China, the Chi people. 17. All things are thought. Catch this. This is divine Christian. This is divine Christian teachings. All things are thought. All life is thought in activity. Now this is life. Life is in movement. That movement is thought activity of the great one great thought, the self-made manna flesh. Lo, la, look, God is thought, and thought is God. God is thought. Never has it been told from the Christian text so clearly as in the Piscean gospel rather than the Holy Bible. This is coming from the great prophet Jesus. God is thought, and thought is God. Then the Indian wrote, Vidyapati wrote the second postulate, eternal thought. Remember thought and thoughts. Eternal thought is one. In essence, it is two, knowledge and will. And when knowledge and will breathe, a child is born. This child is love divine. Love divine. 20. And
before you go any further, I just want to jump in right quick. The Bible says they're preaching that the child is a sinner. You just read something else. I'll close on that.
The child is love. That's why the book, you have to watch the book. There are false scriptures in this world now. Books of hate is false scriptures. Books of love is true knowledge. Knowledge and will. Remember, when this breathes, a child is born. And this child is love divine. Now here come your answer for the Christians of the Holy Trinity. Number 20. And thus the triune God, not the Trinity, the triune God. This is when Absalom and Christian was one and the same. And thus the triune God stands forth, whom men call Father, Mother, Child. Three in one. Two word triune, a triunity. God, this triune God, three in one is what the word tri, three, une, one. Triune. Triune God is one. Like the forehead, in essence, the forehead is seven. From the forehead down is seven. And when the triune God breathed forth, the one became three, and the three became seven spirits. These what they call in the seven churches, the 7 stars, the 7 lights, the 7 chakrus. These are the 7 spirits standing before his face, inside of the body. Before meaning not outside, but or inward, behind his face. These are the creative attributes of yourself. If you ask me to study yourselves. Yourselves is plural. You have a higher self and a lower self. Together, they make 7. 23, men call these 7 lesser gods. And in their image, these 7, made the form of the flesh of man. And Casper, from the Magian land, the Magi. 25, man was a thought of God. Man was a thought of God, formed in the image of 7. Septonate, clothed in the substances of one soul. This is your one soul emitting 7 different levels or 7 different lights as the rainbow. This is what is called frequencies, vibrations, and called energies. 26, and his desires were strong. He sought to manifest on every plane of life, purple to red. And for himself, he made about the ether of the earthly forms. So descended to the plane of earth. About 3 more minutes and we'll be closing. In 27, in this descent, he lost. This is how this happened. In this descent, lost your birthright. You lost your harmony with God, taking on the flesh, taking the lower self, and made disharmony all the notes of life. Man, disharmony and evil are the same. So evil is the handiwork of flesh. 29, Ashibana from Assyria wrote, seeds do not germinate in light. They do not grow until they find the soil and hide themselves away from light. 31, man was evolved, flesh was evolved a seed. Seed is a soul of everlasting life. Man come out of this soul. But in the ethos of the triune God, the 3 in 1, the spirit, the triune God, the light, the spirit was far too great for seeds souls to grow. See, the soul has to grow into a full, mature spirit. This is called everlasting life. 32. And so man sought the soil of cardinal life, flesh. And in the darksomeness, earth, soil, you the color of the soil of the earth, he found a place where he could germinate and grow. This is this in-depthness of how you came to be. The soul, the seed, has taken root, feet, and grown full well. Took the planted it, and now it's growing up as a root. 34. The tree of flesh is the tree of life, rising from the soil of earthly things, and under natural law is reaching up to perfect form to divine law. 35, two more left. 35. There are no supernatural, metaphysical, astral, astrology acts of God to lift a man from his astral life to spirit blessedness. You grow as grows the plant. See, as your body grows, that's supposed to be you growing your body.
That's right. That's right.
And when your body stops growing, that's when you grow into a mind. And this is where you are conquering and becoming a divine mind, which is a spiritual soul. He grows as grows the plant, and in due time is divine, perfected. Last one. The quality of the soul that makes it possible for the flesh to rise to spirit life is purity. Purity. Pure thought, aka no thought. And we close in the divine freedom of Sufian. Salam, Sufian.